My paper! It's due in 3 hours! And that's how he learned the hard way to never trust a fart and print. Wait a minute. It's present year. I don't even own a printer. And I'm not alone. Since 2008, the printer market has been steadily shrinking. But while we don't need them nearly as often as our ancestors did, they are still legitimately useful when they work properly. You can cut down on screen time and eye fatigue by printing out documents for markup. You can make notes and cue cards that work without a battery, and you can even use them for classic pranks.
AMD is going to announce a new chip, and this chip, trust me, this chip is good. What's that? What?
Ah! But the question is, has the printer industry finally figured out how to be less terrible, or are they still treating ink like it's Chanel No. 5 infused with scorpion venom? What about the units themselves? Do you need to spend $400 to get reasonable quality? What if you bought something secondhand for $4 or $40? Could it still print out this segue to our sponsor? iFixit. While a shiny new iPhone may be tempting, you can just repair your old one. Learn more about how you can save 20% off their iPhone screen and battery parts at the end of this video. These days, sealed ink cartridges are out and refillable tanks are in, especially if you print a lot. And that's where something like the Epson EcoTank ET4850 comes in. It's about $400 brand new, packed with features, and sips ink straight from the bottle, saving on both cost and on plastic waste. Now, this was my first time using a tank-style printer, so I wasn't really sure what to expect in terms of setup, but it ended up being very simple. Squeeze the ink into the tanks, plug it into whatever type of computer you've got, and print. As for refills, it seems like the industry has yielded somewhat to customer demands, and $20 is gonna get you a big old bottle of genuine black Epson ink. Drop for drop, it is still roughly 1/10 the price of Chanel No. 5, but that still puts the cost per sheet down to around 1/4 cent. We're gonna have it linked down below. Of course, you also don't need to buy the stuff. Unlike HP, who as recently as a couple of months ago was trying to force you to buy a subscription to print more than a few pages a month, Epson does no genuine ink checks. The print quality is crisp, vibrant, and reasonably quick. We averaged around 7 pages per minute in our 600 DPI test run, and you can connect to it however you want, including asking Alexa to print off a sheet of graph paper. It even includes a scanner with fax functionality. So at this point, you can build yourself a DIY continuous ink system, but if your budget allows, a system like this is pretty much endgame for most people's needs. As for the competition, Canon has some really nice options as well, even though we didn't get them for this video. And brother, they have their Inkvestment tank line, but seem to have lost the plot a little bit. It's kind of convoluted. Now with that said, even a non-convoluted tank system is not for everyone. A big caveat here is that ink tanks are full of, well, liquid ink, and liquid has a tendency to dry up. So if you only print one document every few months, there's a solid chance that you'll go to use it only to find out that one or more of your colors won't print because inky goo has gummed up the print head. If this happens, and the printer's self-cleaning cycle doesn't unstick everything, you're gonna have to either do the dirty job of manually cleaning it, or you'll have to replace the print head or ink dampers altogether. While Epson has made spare parts available, they only have 4 distributors throughout America with very limited stock, meaning once the thing hits end of life, it could be challenging to find those parts again. The other issue with these systems is the upfront price of $400. So, without further ado, may I introduce my $40 model, haha, the Pantum P2500W. We found this monochrome laser printer on Craigslist, but we could have picked up a similar open box model for a pretty similar price from our local reliable supplier, Facebook Marketplace, or wherever the case may be. In terms of features, it's a printer. No scan, no fax, manual duplexing only, and it will not listen when you talk to it. It does have Wi-Fi, but only using 2.4 gigahertz, And at the back, you'll find power, USB Type-B, and a little cutout suggesting that they were thinking of adding networking, but never did. Initial setup was a little tougher this time. Windows 11 recognized it, but could only print out a garbled page. But then when we tried it on Linux, it worked fine, and then after that we plugged it into our Windows 11 machine and it suddenly worked. Why? We're not quite sure, but it works now. And while the print quality isn't perfect, it's a little streaky, for text documents it is perfectly serviceable, and it still shines when it comes to the big advantages of laser, like shelf stability. Because toner is a dry powder, there's no urgency to keep the ink flowing. It can sit idly for months, sometimes even years, without degrading to the point of becoming unusable. And when you do eventually decide to use your printer, you will almost certainly appreciate the speed. In spite of being on the older side, it advertises 22 pages per minute and hit that number almost dead on during our longer print run. This thing is so fast, it practically smokes by the 10th page. Wait, that actually does look like smoke. But as it turns out, it's steam. Laser printers work through heat, and paper usually contains small amounts of moisture, and well, heat plus moisture makes steam. Add in a bit of toner or dust, and it can look a bit like smoke, but don't worry about it. Now, this is far from the only option. As I alluded to before, there are plenty of budget secondhand laser printers out there from the likes of Samsung/HP or from Brother. And as long as you verify that there's driver support for your operating system, they tend to be extremely long-lasting machines. I think my old Samsung unit has been in service for over 10 years and still works like the day we got it. The reason we chose to highlight a Pantum model though was because we thought it was a little more interesting than those other brands. Despite this printer being released over a decade ago, most North Americans probably wouldn't recognize the brand. But their history is extremely interesting. Pantum's parent company, 9star, originally specialized in making bootleg lockout chips for third-party ink and toner refills. In 2010, they launched the first Pantum product, China's first domestic laser printer, followed by a global rollout over the next months. Then in 2016, they bought Lexmark, and in 2023, they were added to the banned imports list by the US government on accusations of using forced labor. At $50, the official toner refills would cost us more than the printer did. Third party, on the other hand, can be had for around $18. That puts this printer at about 3 cents and 1 cent per page, respectively. Now, that might sound more expensive than Epson's quarter-cent pages, and it is, but the cost of ownership doesn't even out until you've printed 7,000 sheets on that tank system. So if you've got $60 to your name and you absolutely need to print some documents, this is gonna get the job done. But wait, what if you don't have $60? Enter the Canon S200. Listed on Craigslist for 10 Canadian shillings, we talked them down to the Maple Leaf equivalent of 4 freedom bucks. It wasn't our first pick, but buying a used printer comes with some risks, and having your time wasted is definitely one of them. We had dozens of other listings either ghost us, sell the printer from under us, or otherwise just refuse to sell us their printer. But hey, Canon released this BubbleJet printer in February of 2002. And apparently they didn't have much love for this particular model because 2 months later they released the PowerShot S200 digital camera. And I know I've said a lot about other brands' naming schemes, but at least they mostly bothered to use different letters and numbers for their different products. Despite the slight from Canon though, they did make several other printers that used the same form factor, software, and even ink. So finding compatible cartridges all these years later is still pretty easy. From our local reliable supplier, a third-party combo pack of black and color ink was actually less than the price we paid for this printer, even today. Unfortunately, BubbleJets were notorious for clogging, and as far as we can tell, this printer may have been sitting unused since as early as 2004. Even after buying new ink and making a quick attempt to clean the printer, it's still just printing blank pages. Something we got in common, buddy. There may be hope though. It just so happened that when we were starting this project a few months ago, LGR posted a half-hour-long saga trying to get a compatible printer working properly. How'd that go, Clint?
Never buy an old inkjet printer. This is all a complete waste of time, and everything is stupid.
Oh, well, too late. So we ordered a replacement print head and, Oh, wait, is this the one? Yep. Oh, the script says it didn't arrive yet because it hadn't when we reviewed this, but I guess it has now. Are we just gonna try it now? Let's do it.
The troubleshooter's never gonna work.
Hey, this could be the first time.
How long have you been doing this?
Give feedback on the
The
troubleshooter.
troubleshooter crashed. Well, it knows this.
Damn it! All right, we'll have to film the conclusion tomorrow. Hey, you got it!
Yep.
Wow! And all it took was installing the new printhead, spending several hours trying to force some truly ancient drivers onto Windows 11 and Mac OS, showing up late for the company softball game, getting in a solid 6 hours of sleep, and then first thing in the morning putting together a Linux test bench, adding the Gutenprint drivers, connecting the printer, tracking down a random printer test page website, et voila! Not bad, actually. I mean, not great, but not bad. Taking some of the joy out of this is the fact that we are now at $34, including that new printhead, plus the new ink that we bought earlier, plus paying people to do the troubleshooting and whatever the test bench hardware costs, but I have this now. In fact, compared to our Epson, the colors are more vibrant and our text is more legible. There are a few additional drawbacks though. It leaves big streaks in the print occasionally. The yellow seems to pick up lots of tiny specks of cyan and magenta for some reason, and the ink cartridges, while costing mere pocket change, only hold enough ink for up to 170 pages of text, so be prepared to swap them out frequently. Also, it's slow. The manual claims that in a text-only best case scenario, it can do 5 pages per minute. And for full color, you could be looking at several minutes per page. So if you're printing off a high quality photo, make sure to bring some reading materials with you to pass the time. What you could also do to pass the time is check out this message from our sponsor, iFixit. Okay, let's see some hands. Who's gonna get the new iPhone this year? Okay, but hold on a second. Have you thought about repairing your old one instead? You, yeah, you. I see you, and so does iFixit. It may seem daunting at first, but with iFixit's repair guides, you'll have step-by-step walkthroughs of how to disassemble and patch up your old iPhone, no matter which one you're currently using. That's right, even the beloved iPhone 4S has over 20 guides, and until September 30th, you can get 20% off of iFixit's iPhone screen and battery replacement parts. So make the affordable and, perhaps more importantly, sustainable choice. Instead of handing over a wad of cash just for the latest and greatest, head to iFixit using our link in the description and breathe some new life into your current iPhone. If you guys liked this video, maybe you'll also enjoy the time we looked at a $95 3D printer. How bad was it? Ha ha! Well, why don't you just watch it?